Hello, my name is Edwin Rutsch, and I'm the director of the Empathy Center located here in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. The center's mission is to build the empathy movement and to raise the level of empathy in society through education and community building initiatives.
And my name is Anita Nowak. I teach at McGill University, and I'm the author of Purposeful Empathy, a book that invites readers to turn up the volume of empathy in their lives.
And at the beginning of 2024, Anita and I co-hosted the Empathy Summit, brought to you by the Empathy Center, and more than 40 authors of books about empathy participated.
They shared what their book was about, why they were motivated to write it, and what they hope readers will take away. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you'll buy their book.
And our next speaker is Nicole Price, and Nicole is an engineer turned empathy revolutionary. Yeah, we need more empathy revolutionaries. She is the author of Spark the Heart, Engineering Empathy in Your Organization, and she's gifting 3 books to the Empathy Summit participants. So take it away, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I love that people know that I am an engineer. I think it's important because I'm not naturally empathetic. And the way that I found myself in this position was because I taught something else entirely. I used to talk with organizations about disengagement. And a former speaker mentioned that disengagement has been anywhere in the last 20 years, somewhere between 68% and upwards almost of 80%. But my focus was on this 32%. I, as an engineer, feel like we get more failure because we study failure. We study why people leave, why people quit, why they don't stay. And the work that I was doing was about, okay, what if we studied the people who were staying? What caused them to be engaged? What caused them to be or give discretionary effort? But at no point through that process did I center empathy until there was a gentleman who said to me, Nicole, I understand completely what you're saying to me, but I was hoping that you would help me get it emotionally. I get it intellectually, but I don't care. And I remember feeling like, did this dude just tell me he don't care about what I'm saying right now? And I wasn't all that excited, but I did think somebody needs to teach folks about empathy. And in no point did I think that somebody needed to be me. But what happened was, and what the book is about, is my own personal journey to recognizing that empathy is a crucial leadership skill, and that some of us being overly focused on logic and thinking that lacking the emotional component somehow made us more logical was a fallacy. And this book is purely a blueprint to help other people teach people about empathy. It is in no way trying to get you to hire me as a consultant to engage my firm. What it is all of the research that I've done through story and the competency building to teach other people how to teach their direct reports empathy. Everyone can't rely on me, can't come to me, won't be able to find me. So what would it look like if people found empathy for themselves? And that's what this book is. But then I think this particular quote highlights for me what tends to happen to most people who were not naturally empathetic, who become empathetic. It's by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and these days we're talking a lot about plagiarism, and I think her entire body of work has been stained because people suggested that she was a plagiarist, but her work around change has been incredibly helpful to me. But the quote that's not even related to change management or death or any of the other things she talks about related to change basically says that beautiful people, and I like to change that to say empathetic people, don't just happen, that there's usually something, some defeat, some suffering, some kind of struggle that's caused them to be there. And for me, this picture highlights what happened in my life. So one day I was at work in a job I loved, working in leadership development, when I got a call that my mom, who's pictured here on the left, had been in an accident and that she didn't make it. And it was my sister who was calling me. My sister's a little bit of a exaggerator in some interesting ways. And so I thought she was exaggerating in this particular instance as well. And she wasn't. And I later learned, standing in the lobby of a trauma center, that my mom had been mowed over by a drunken driver who left her there for dead. And so, like many people who lose their parents, I was immediately taking care of affairs, but I was also in a murder trial that drug on for years, because this gentleman, when he ran into my mom, had been drinking and driving. He had also stolen a car, and this was not his first offense. But the critical component that I think is important here was that after I'd taken off 5 weeks of work to just try to handle affairs and get myself back together, I was sitting in the office with my boss, whom I still think is a very considerate and kind person. And she said to me, Nicole, how are you doing? Asking all the token niceties that you're supposed to ask when you consider HR professionals and what we've been taught to do. But as soon as I finished telling her how I felt, her very next question was, okay, let's talk about your projects and where you were. And I think in that moment, I recognized for the first time what it feels like when empathy for your situation is just another checkbox on a list of things that leaders have to do. And I opened the chapter of the book basically saying that I might be the worst person to talk about empathy because it is not a natural skill for me. And it was my mother's empathetic demonstration that helped me to recognize that empathy is something that we can develop. And many people don't believe that. I know everyone probably on this call today does know that. Helping people to understand that there are lots of different types of empathy. This book is specifically stretching cognitive or mental empathy muscles. It's not necessarily teaching effective or emotional empathy to others, even though I think that is drastically important. And the third bullet point is addressing the thing that I hear the most, which is how do you hold people accountable if you're focusing on empathy? And in the blueprint, it's completely outlined how empathy and accountabilities are allies and not the antithesis of each other. And so I just want to double down again that what is available to you in the book is a blueprint for developing empathy in other people, especially people who are not naturally prone to be empathetic. And so in general, if you hear nothing else I say, is that I'm trying to get people to embrace this mindset that skill building for leaders is not just a nice to have, it's a must have. It is our jobs, it is our responsibilities as leaders. And the competencies related to empathy can be taught, and we know what it looks like when it's there. We know what it looks like when it's missing, and we have to build leaders' capacity to build empathy in others, because we can't overcorrect and lean on consultants such as myself. So I just want to just leave everyone with this basic premise and idea that we can engineer empathy in organizations. And if you have any questions or would like to connect with me, all of my social media handles are at drnicoleprice.com. And I would love to answer any questions you might have. This year, we are doing quarterly masterclasses to help organizations learn how to take their performance to the top 1% of their industry by centering empathy and not making it an adjacent or a nice to have. So thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope that if you read the book, if you listen to the first chapter, that you will give me a review because I value your opinion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nicole.